Welcome Dr. Chris Caplice, both to our weekly video update and to DAT Solutions. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Ken. Glad to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Great. Yeah, we actually just wrapped up doing an episode of the Freightline podcast. So if you're not familiar with that, I'd recommend you checking it out. And we had some really exciting news to share this week. Chris, you want to fill us in on that news?
Yeah, sure. The big news, it's been in the works for a couple months now, is that FMIC, the Freight Market Intelligence Consortium, along with the Pulse product and our signals forecasting, has been acquired by DAT. So we're now part of the big DAT Solutions family. I'm just waiting to get the T-shirt, Ken.
Yeah, I actually need some more swag. These are getting redundant. For those watching today, Chris, that aren't familiar with you or the Freightline podcast, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, or your career and your role at FMIC?
Sure. I'm a accidental professional in transportation. I was actually a civil engineer, served time in the Army, got my PhD in transportation, worked in software for a company called logistics.com that eventually got acquired by Manhattan Associates. And so I've actually been in freight transportation for a little over 25 years, mainly focused on the shipper side of things. I joined Chainalytics at the same time I went back to MIT to run the Center for Transportation and Logistics. And that's when I started what we used to call the model-based benchmarking, but then marketing took control and gave it a better name, FMIC, Freight Market Intelligence. So pretty much my career has been in working with shippers and carriers, trying to find better ways that they can work together better.
Great. So for a lot of those folks, FMIC customers or others, can you kind of give an overview of what FMIC is? How is it different or similar to DAT?
Sure.
And why are we all so excited about this?
Yeah. So FMIC has really strange roots. It actually started because we're trying to understand what a shipper can do to improve the interaction with a carrier to lower those rates. Because as we all know, truckload transportation is pretty much a cost plus business. So if you can find a way to lower the carrier's cost, you can probably lower their price and the shipper's cost. So we're looking and trying to understand, how can I determine what drives a rate? And so we developed a series of models that kind of separate out the different driving factors. You can guess, anyone who's watching this knows trucking. That means geography, origin, destination, distance, and a bunch of other factors, whether it's going to a grocer retail, whether it's going internal, whether it's team, all these things, and we're able to quantify it. So what FMIC is all about is understanding what drives carrier rates for the purpose of improving the relationship between shippers and carriers. So it's very different from what DAT does, but it makes for a nice marriage.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to my next question, which is, how is the combination of FMIC and DAT going to give customers a more complete picture of the freight market?
It's a great question, Ken. And there's if you look at the transportation market, you can break it into many different pieces. But the big pieces, you can talk about shippers, carriers, and brokers. And to be honest, the FMIC side is very focused on shippers and how they interact with the market. And what I love about DAT, it's the opposite. It's focused on carriers and brokers and how they interact. So I think bringing it together really complements each other and will bring out strengths that the other ones haven't focused on. But what do you think, Ken? You're just as immersed in this as I have. What do you see the combination of these two companies doing?
Yeah, as a recent consumer of data and industry and, now at DAT, I'm excited. It's a full end-to-end picture. There's really no reason you would need to go to any other source for freight analytics to get that end-to-end 360-degree view of what's going on. And I think combined, it's over $110 billion worth of combined freight transactions that we now have under our umbrella.
Yeah, so I can't think of any other source of that has so much data from so many varied sources. And so what I think it brings is not just the breadth, but the depth of the data there. Can you think of any other source that comes close, Ken?
No, what's really exciting about this is between the two companies, we've been in freight rating and analytics for over 20 years. This wasn't just a great idea over cocktails 3 to 4 years ago. We have a long history of helping customers understand, adapt, and respond to the uncertainty in freight markets. We don't rely on vague marketing claims about our data. We're transparent because we're proud of how the data is collected and analyzed. And I think also this acquisition speaks to how bullish we are on freight analytics in general. We're a company that's not beholden to our next round of funding. We're not out there constantly fundraising. We are here pouring money into developing great products for our customers. And I think that's why it's such a great fit with FMIC.
No, that's an excellent point, because I think one of the strongholds of FMIC is transparency. We are very open on what we do, where we get it, and steps that we take. But let me ask you a question, Ken. What do you think this will allow our FMIC customers to do that they couldn't do before?
The big thing is going to be on the spot side of the equation. And, if you're a contract shipper, as you know, Chris, you're really focused on that contract book of business, but the spot, even though it's smaller, plays a very important role. So gaining a greater understanding of what's happening there, how it may lead future changes in their contract rates, and anticipating and reacting to those changes before they happen. Again, and there's this broad suite of predictive analytics and forecasting that they'll be able to gain access to. And I think it'll just round out the total portfolio, if you will, of analytics. But I'm really interested to hear, what do you think about FMIC customers? Why should they be excited about this, partnering with DAT?
Right. I'm going to echo what you just said, because the big takeaway story here is that we're two big companies doing some really interesting stuff on different segments of the market with different perspectives. So getting merging in with DAT will bring more real-time visibility, visibility into spot, which we have had limited effect for that, and a lot of more access to leading indicators. Because I think what FMIC is really good at is understanding how contracts work and how they work through the routing guide, all of those different things. What the DAT is bringing to us is that visibility into that real time, how things are churning in real time, and those leading indicators. So I think it's going to be a lot of complementary value between the FMIC and the DAT customer bases.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked a lot about data, and just to wrap up here, besides the end-to-end data and the database size, I think it really does come down to people. While other folks in our industry, and specifically in freight analytics, are reducing their footprint on industry expertise and analysis, I think at this point we have created the greatest nexus of expertise, experience, both on the data analytics and data science, but also industry expertise side in the industry. And that's what's, to me, most exciting about this. I would look forward to really great content as we learn to collaborate. And I'm really excited, I think, most of all, to see what we're building together 12 months down the road, and how we're able to change the landscape of freight analytics. So I want to thank you, Chris, for joining us. This certainly won't be the last time that you're on. And I think I speak for everyone at DAT when I say welcome to the entire FMIC team. And we're extremely excited to have you guys part of the team.
Great. I'm excited to be here, Ken. For speaking on behalf of the whole team, we're very excited to get started and rolling our sleeves up as soon as we get our T-shirts. We need some swag.
We're a golf forward company, so it's going to be polos.
All right. That's great. Thanks, Ken.